Because Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay? For them, that's what I was. That's all.
Sean was always on the phone or on TV, constantly talking to people and doing his thing, while I was just there, treated like a sex slave for them. That's all I was to them.
Courtroom.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate, tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business.
Diddy's situation is about to take a turn for the worse with this new testimony that just came out in court.
Sex slave.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
I slept with Cassie, and Sean would watch. He'd usually be pleasuring himself while giving me instructions on what to do with her. This happened around 15 times, and during those encounters, I overheard a lot of business conversations.
I had settlement with Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land over contracts. It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes.
A shocking new testimony has shaken Diddy's trial. An alleged sex slave just revealed what really happened inside what Diddy reportedly referred to as a torture room in his mansion. The accusations are deeply disturbing, so much so that Diddy allegedly hid his face in court while the graphic details were being read. So, what exactly was said? And could this be the moment everything starts to unravel? Let's dive into it. The testimony from Diddy's alleged sex slave has stunned the courtroom, adding to the string of explosive revelations that have come out since the trial began. But nothing could have prepared anyone for this latest account.
Catching up.
And it would always be like Glade, or there was another brand that she mentioned because he wanted it to smell a certain way.
Jonathan Audi's testimony left Diddy clearly rattled. He was seen covering his face as explicit details emerged about what allegedly happened behind closed doors at his mansion. For those unfamiliar with the backstory, Jonathan Audi became a central figure in Diddy's case after Cassie Ventura named him during her testimony. She confirmed that the man who had once made shocking claims about being Diddy's sex slave had, in fact, been hired multiple times by Diddy for sexual activities. What's even more unsettling for many is that Audi is the same man who reportedly opened fire inside former President Donald Trump's Florida hotel back in 2018, a chaotic event that ended with his arrest after a shootout with police. At the time, his statements about Diddy were brushed off as delusional and a sign of mental instability. But with recent federal raids on Diddy's properties and his indictment on serious sex trafficking charges, Audi's once ignored allegations are now being reevaluated. Following the Trump Hotel incident, during police questioning, Audi made disturbing claims about being used as a sex slave by Diddy. Claims that once seemed far-fetched, but now, in light of the current criminal investigation, are beginning to sound a lot more credible.
We've already made that out. That is a federal crime. Remember all the male sex workers that Diddy's associates, his confederacy, would fly in and make the travel arrangements for? That's why they were talking about that hard.
According to people inside the courtroom, the moment prosecutors brought up Jonathan Audi's name and his past allegations, Diddy's entire demeanor shifted. He dropped his usual calm, Bible-reading image and appeared visibly shaken, at one point even covering his face with his hands, as the details about Audi's claims, including the alleged torture room inside Diddy's mansion, were read aloud. This moment marked a major turning point in the trial. Prosecutors landed a heavy blow on Diddy's defense by linking Audi's previous accusations to the current case, suggesting a disturbing, long-running pattern, not just involving Cassie Ventura, but now extending to male victims as well. This isn't being framed as a personal vendetta anymore. Prosecutors are painting it as part of a larger, organized criminal operation. What made this even more powerful is that Cassie herself confirmed under oath that Audi had indeed been hired multiple times for sexual encounters. That one confirmation changed everything. It took Audi from sounding like a fringe figure making outrageous claims to someone whose testimony could potentially anchor the prosecution's entire case. He's now being presented as a crucial witness who supports the broader narrative prosecutors are building. When it came to the alleged torture room, prosecutors didn't hold back. They laid out disturbing claims that certain areas of Diddy's properties were specifically designed for so-called freak-off parties involving intense sexual activity, drugs, coercion, and humiliation. They even provided graphic specifics, extra linens to manage blood and bodily fluids, baby oil that had to be reapplied every 5 minutes, and special air fresheners to mask the stench. These disturbing details are painting a picture of something that wasn't just chaotic or out of control, it was systematic, repeated, and calculated. And now, all of it is catching up with Diddy.
Well, there's been a change to that. And so now only the jury is going to be able to view those freak-off videos.
The courtroom went completely silent as Cassie described the disturbing details of these rooms, claiming she was forced to take part in so-called freak-offs, even while on her period, leaving blood-stained sheets behind. She also spoke of situations involving urine and other bodily fluids, and the graphic nature of her testimony made several jurors visibly uncomfortable, with some turning their eyes away as she continued. As if that wasn't intense enough, Jonathan, Audie's ex-wife, has now stepped into the spotlight, revealing that he still lives in fear of Diddy. She suggested the experience left him deeply traumatized, both emotionally and psychologically. Her statement adds another layer of weight to the prosecution's claim that Diddy used intimidation and fear to maintain control over his alleged victims. Meanwhile, Diddy's defense team has been on the offensive, zeroing in on Audie as a supposed weak link. They've tried to discredit him by bringing up his chaotic legal history and questioning his mental stability, suggesting his claims are nothing more than wild stories meant to distract from his own past, specifically the 2018 incident at Trump's Florida hotel. But here's where things start to shift. Back then, many brushed Audie off as someone chasing headlines. Now, parts of his original accusations are lining up almost exactly with Cassie's recent testimony. That kind of overlap isn't easy to ignore. When two separate people, years apart, start describing the same disturbing patterns, it becomes harder to dismiss it all as fiction. Legal observers are treating this case like a high-stakes chess match, and what they're witnessing is the prosecution methodically building a case that doesn't rely on just one voice, but on a growing pattern of disturbing behavior. This isn't just an isolated accusation anymore. It's starting to look like a series of repeated offenses, each one backing up the next. Even Nancy Grace, who's known for her no-nonsense takes on criminal cases, weighed in. She didn't mince words, saying, "This case is beginning to look like a network of people who allegedly helped Diddy carry out these crimes." She pointed out that some of these claims involve sex workers being transported across state lines, something that shifts the case from just scandalous to federal. So while Diddy's legal team continues to cast doubt and deflect attention, the prosecution is moving with precision, playing a long game that's starting to look like checkmate.
Including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016?
The courtroom was turned upside down as the disturbing topic of Diddy's alleged torture rooms came into focus. What many had brushed off as just another wild celebrity scandal is now being revealed as something far more sinister. Prosecutors have shifted the narrative entirely, arguing these rooms weren't just for outrageous adult parties, but carefully constructed environments used for control, manipulation, and abuse. They're saying this wasn't a random lifestyle choice. It was part of an organized system. According to federal investigators, these spaces were just one piece of a much larger operation, an enterprise that allegedly operated in silence while putting people through horrifying experiences. Now, the jury is being shown exactly how the dots connect: the locations, the individuals involved, and the victims caught in the middle. What's rattling everyone in the courtroom is how Audie's past allegations are suddenly aligning with the new testimonies being shared. This is no longer about a celebrity getting dragged through the tabloids. It's taking the shape of a well-oiled machine allegedly designed to exploit, control, and leave destruction in its wake. The claims of sex slavery have completely shifted the direction of the trial. Prosecutors now insist this wasn't about private adult behavior. It was an underground network masked by the glamour of the music industry. But here's where it gets even more intense. How does all of this line up with the video footage that's become a central focus of the investigation? The prosecution reportedly has multiple recordings of these so-called freak-offs. While the public hasn't seen them, the descriptions alone have left a lasting impact on those inside the courtroom. Court documents reveal that prosecutors are in possession of 9 different videos tied to these events. Although many have questioned why these tapes aren't being released to the public, legal experts support the decision, emphasizing the importance of protecting the privacy and dignity of the alleged victims. The judge has ruled that only jurors will be allowed to view the footage, and even then, it will be shown using privacy screens to block the content from anyone else in the room. The prosecution is carefully stacking its evidence, moving from witness testimony to physical proof, and slowly building a case that's becoming harder to dismiss as just celebrity drama. It's starting to look like a dark system hidden beneath fame and fortune, and the world is watching closely as the truth begins to unfold.
Now, the feds say Diddy once forced an escort to urinate on Cassie. That came out in court today.
Although Diddy's legal team insists that the videos show consensual activities between adults, prosecutors argue otherwise, claiming the footage reveals manipulation and exploitation. A particularly troubling revelation came from Cassie, who testified that many of these encounters were recorded by Diddy himself, and not just for private use. According to her, the recordings were later used as blackmail, a method to keep participants quiet and under control. This claim of coercive blackmail plays a key role in the prosecution's argument, especially since it supports the foundation for sex trafficking charges. Cassie testified that these freak-off events weren't random or spontaneous. They followed a clear and disturbing structure. She broke it down into a series of steps. First, she had to engage in narrated foreplay. Next came physical contact involving baby oil. Then oral sex, which she admitted she rushed through just to make it end faster. And finally, intercourse. Sometimes Diddy would simply observe, and other times he'd get involved directly. One of the most damning pieces of video evidence isn't even from one of those private events. It's a surveillance clip from a hotel hallway in 2016, now widely known, where Diddy is seen chasing Cassie, throwing her to the floor, kicking her, and dragging her back into their room. This footage, which CNN made public in 2024, has been shown multiple times to the jury. It paints a vivid picture of what could happen when someone tried to resist or leave one of these encounters.
So they painted it as if she was lost in this whole drug abuse thing that was caused and spiraled out by Puff.
The hotel security officer who responded to the incident testified that upon arrival, Cassie was repeatedly expressing her desire to leave, while Diddy was firmly insisting that she stay. This testimony directly ties the visible violence captured on the hotel's surveillance footage to the private freak-off sessions, revealing a clear pattern of control and coercion. What makes these videos especially disturbing is how they reportedly document a disturbing progression, from initial participation to escalating control and humiliation. Several witnesses, including male escorts hired for these encounters, have testified that the activities grew increasingly extreme and degrading over time. Some even described situations where participants were urinated on or forced to endure other deeply humiliating acts. One male escort testified that he witnessed Diddy's violent behavior firsthand. He recounted seeing Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie and hearing him physically assault her in another room. The witness revealed that the experience was so traumatizing that it caused him to develop erectile dysfunction, making it impossible for him to perform during those encounters. He described a particularly chilling moment when he saw Diddy drag Cassie by her hair from a computer chair all the way to the bedroom while she was kicking, screaming, and crying. Prosecutors argue that this case is about much more than just disturbing videos. They claim there was a carefully orchestrated system behind the scenes, a dark, well-oiled operation. Evidence suggests this was not a chaotic situation, but a calculated one. Hotels were booked with rooms set up specifically for certain types of encounters, designed to exert control. Escorts were not just randomly picked up. They were flown across state lines without hesitation. The feds also say there was a drug pipeline supplying substances not just for party atmosphere, but allegedly to keep victims sedated and easier to manipulate. Drug use played a significant role in these twisted freak-off sessions. Multiple testimonies describe people being zoned out, barely conscious, and heavily intoxicated. Cassie's account is especially powerful. She claimed there were nights when she was so drugged she couldn't even say no, let alone resist. Despite the powerful testimonies from Cassie and Diddy's alleged sex slave, the defense is pushing a different story. They argue Cassie was deeply involved in drugs by choice and was actually using more than Diddy. They also claim it was Diddy who tried to help her stop spiraling out of control, portraying him as the one trying to slow things down rather than encourage them. As this extraordinary legal battle continues to unfold, the question extends beyond whether Sean Diddy Combs will be found guilty or innocent of the serious charges he faces. It also raises concerns about whether the judicial process itself can remain intact amid what the court sees as attempts to undermine it. For a music mogul who once captivated millions with his artistic and business success, the spotlight now shines with a very different focus, no longer on glamour or fame, but on allegations of exploitation, coercion, and possibly even perjury. This intense courtroom drama may be remembered as a pivotal moment in this high-profile case, sending a clear message that no one, regardless of their fame, wealth, or influence, is above the law or the basic demand for honesty in court. That brings us to the end of this video.